10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
Power Hour is live. How do I know that we're live? It's because it's on Facebook, it's on X, it's on YouTube. You can hit the like button, hit the share button, dive into the comment section right here on the competitionplus.com platforms. I'm Lee Kraft, aka the Monday Morning Racer, and over there is Mr. Dugenay Bland, and he certainly doesn't have no bland take. Dugenay, here we are once again, looking forward to having Brandon Foster on, talk a little bit of NHRA Pro Stock, the what, where, how, and where in the heck did he come from out of left field. I didn't hear his intro music coming out of the bullpen, if you know what I mean.
Right.
And here he is in the category, had a great NHRA national event there in New England at Epping at New England Dragway. Southeast Gassers Association was in action. Plenty of drag racing elsewhere as well. There is so much to talk about as usual.
Yeah. Did anybody know that Brandon Foster is 9th in the points? Who would have thought?
Who would have thought?
I mean, he's come out and he's executed well. There's a lot of guys and gals doing a good job there in that class, but man, he's come out. He's really been very consistent and consistent enough to put himself, in the top 9. So, what great way to start the season when you're only in the second quarter and we're going into the last race of the second quarter of this season, this regular season.
Lonnie V, man, thank you for chiming in and watching routinely. Appreciate that. And I didn't even know this handle was still in operation.
Me neither.
What is this?
Who is that?
What is this new handle? Who's this guy in the comment section? No, Darren Williams Jr. We are doing very well. I hope you're doing well. And, hey, congratulations to you. Your win. You're part of that John Force Racing outfit these days. And the boss man got a win. And that is certainly popular in the world of drag racing when John Force picks up another win and he adds another tally to the total in NHRA competition. I am surprised, though, Dugenay, as we wait for Brandon to get into the green room, I'm surprised that so many people were a bit aghast, if you will. John making the remark, this kid's going to replace me. I was watching the national coverage after getting back from Knoxville, Tennessee, and covering the Southeast Gassers Association at Knoxville Dragway. I heard him say that, and I was like, okay, that's cool, John. And I wasn't shocked.
Right.
Because if you've paid attention to articles by Susan Wade, if you've paid attention to competitionplus.com, if you've paid attention to shows like this, if you've paid attention to John when he's live and other things that are out there on the interwebs, we've kind of known this for a while.
Yeah. The Easter eggs have been planted. They've been there if you've been paying attention, not living under a rock, so to speak. It's been there. It's not a surprise. Kind of obvious. So I think the only thing that would probably be a surprise is he talked about his other dragster trying to get that thing out of there, and he's been working on sponsorship. I believe that. I also believe this is not a prediction. This is a spoiler. I think this thing is going to go to Jordan Vandergriff, and I think he will be in that second car. They're going to find a way to get that second car out there. It will be out there, and I think Jordan Vandergriff will be your guy. But yeah, the rest of this is not surprising. And Darren, good thing it was AJ and not you that he threw under the bus. So you're batting 1,000 here, buddy. But yeah, super cool, and he got to take pictures with the Wally. Another win, man. This team's on a roll.
They really are. And, coming into the first part of the year, I think we weren't shocked that the Proc Rocket was rocketing on down the drag strip. They showed that there at the Pro Star Shootout in Bradenton, and they have continued to show it. But, John, that car has stepped up. That car's performance is where we kind of all expect it to be for John Force. And we've had the conversations, Darren and I had the conversations right here on this show. John Force rolling into 2024 after a no-win season in 2023. You know that he wanted to put the Jets full blast, if you will, and he has certainly done that and looks in, well, the rare form that John Brute Force can certainly look and be in over his career. Very well, he might just go out on top, if you will.
Yeah, I kind of have that gut feeling, man. It's got that feel. I think the most important thing is that Danny Hood is in his bag. He's finding ways, and they're very consistent, not just in first and second round, but the latter rounds. They're continuing to peak, no pun intended. So I really like where they're at. John is going to be John, no matter what, whether it's 30-year-old John or 75-year-old John. John's going to be John. He's going to be there. Sure, his lights haven't been where he would like them to be, but hey, man, that's why you got a crew chief in Danny Hood. And you know what? He's found his groove, man. He's really calling up and dialing up some numbers, and they've been executing quite well. To have both of these cars running within hundredths of each other is insane. You don't really see funny cars being identical like this. So yeah, they're doing a lot of good stuff over there at JFR. And I kind of got this feeling that this could be John's championship to lose.
Right now, for sure. And it looks good right now. We are definitely going to be getting into the hotter months. We'll see how that car does perform. And then also, can it step up when it is needed? Because we live in a day and time, you don't have to have a hot weather car to win a championship. That used to be the case. You needed to be able to get that car down a greasy track and turn on wind lights consistently in the summer into the late autumn. But not so much the case. You need to pick it up after Indy. That's where it needs to happen. You need to have that fair weather car in the sense that it looks fair for those record-setting type of conditions, whether it's track or national, and turn on wind lights with that type of hot rod. We certainly know, though, that John Force Racing can get it done on the funny car side. Drag Racing Mayhem chimes in, and he's like, hey, I'm curious, what does that mean for Robert? Honestly, Proc has been doing better than Robert was the last few years. Well, DRM, I've got to say, that's a bit nearsighted. I think that is looking at what Proc's already done. He's doing a phenomenal job. But remember, Robert Height recently, other than winning the championship, had one of the most dominating seasons in funny car that we've seen to recent date. So he was doing just fine. He was in contention nearly every year for the championship. And I don't think John's announcement of Proc replacing him, when you have in mind, like I can think back to 3 years ago filming Austin Proc in John's car, John sitting on his scooter, watching Austin Proc test the car at Texas. This is nothing new. This has been a game plan for a while to have Proc in this scenario, and it be, honestly, a Proc Height, I think, dual team under the carbon fiber bodies of the funny car ranks. So I think whenever Height comes back, we're going to see him back in his normal role. Also, remember, folks, Robert Height's not just a driver. He's got a rather impressive title at John Force Racing.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. He's going to be there. And then the fact of the matter is, if he's not even there driving, he's going to be there. And he's going to be making decisions. And he's certainly been an instrumental part of that racing outfit to become and get where it is. Don't want to take anything away from John Force. I don't. Don't get me wrong. But I'm sure that Force and many others would admit that. And Force has been, I think, very good also just as an individual. He has routinely showcased that, hey, other people have got, me to where I'm at. I picked the right people and put the right team together, such as an Austin Coyle for so many years and so on. So I think you're going to see Robert back, and I do like that goal of having that second dragster back out there and it being filled. I like that Jordan Vandergriff filling that role. I like that for sure. And Andrew asked if not having a second top fuel dragster has hurt Brittany's performance.
No.
I don't think that's the case because you had Austin Prock performing well at times in the dragster last year, but Brittany's car just didn't have that pizzazz to it, and it has been hit or miss so far right now.
Yeah. For whatever reason, they've kind of went down a rabbit hole possibly. You know what I mean? You take a step back, you're trying to get ahead, and I don't blame them for that. You can't sit still in any class when it comes down to a combination. For whatever reason, that combination not only didn't respond as well as they would have liked last year, it has seemed as if they've gone down a rabbit hole and kind of lost their way a little bit. I think we've seen some flashes of them starting to find where it is. We just haven't seen them go out here and throw up, the 337 pass and the absolute low ET blowing everybody else away right now. I think they're trying to find their way back through. I don't know what the combination of those things are, whether it's everything. I really don't think it has anything to do with their clutch application. I just think it's a matter of marrying both of those things together, the horsepower that you're trying to make versus getting that thing to be applied where you want it to be to find that magic touch they had before with this new combination. I'm going to give David Grubnick a whole lot of credit for sticking with trying to get ahead, even though they haven't had success, because it's very easy to go back to what you know to win, but that's short-lived in this game. As we see all these competitive cars now, it's short-lived in this game. If you go back to what you know, you're just doing enough just to hang around. And then by the time you decide to make that move forward and actually put your whole hard work into it to find that sweet spot, you're past. So I think they'll take their lumps now and work towards it. The main thing is they just got to be there. Like you said, be there at Indy and move forward. We've seen a lot of people do well in the beginning of the season and come out and burp and fart and be done in the playoffs. So that's why I say I'm not even worried about Bob Tasca. This is great for him. He started out fast a lot, and it's gotten him nowhere. So hey, let's be here and be around there, and then we strike and get our groove towards the end. So yeah, I'm okay with them. I don't think it has anything to do with them not having a second car though.
Right. Speaking of John Force, let's take a look at that final round and that win.
Both drivers now in pre-stage the funny car final. In all John Force racing affair, he's in deep. They go down the racetrack, and at the finish line, strive for the 157th time. John forced around, and everybody else found out. For the 157th time, John Force is going to bring home a Wally. Here are the folks from New England Dragway handing him his Wally here today. Pass it over to John. John, you had a heck of a final round there. That was a close race between your teammate, Austin Prock. What did it take to beat the kid?
Well, a lot of luck, trust me. I could go through all the sponsors. I've been doing that all day, and I think they've been cutting all my stuff. I'm just going to thank Peak and Chevrolet and Cornwell and AAA of Southern, AAA of Epping. And I just really mean it. I talk too much. I say too much. But I want to say something that really does matter. This kid, because I'm there, is going to replace me.
That's pretty cool.
Oh, it certainly is. John picks up another win, and Drag Racing Mayhem mentioned that he appreciates John having this outlook toward the younger generation and looking at those that are coming up through the ranks that are going to be there beyond him. And I've got to give credit beyond even just this weekend. John's done that for a while.
Yeah.
I can remember having him on the show right here 2 years ago, and he's talking about the Matt Hagans and the Alexis DeJourias, and he in a lot of ways is a cheerleader for the sport, and in particular, Funny Car. He really is. He's been that way for a long time, and I think he has understood for a very long time his place in the sport. He is an ambassador beyond even John Force Racing. He is, in many ways, the face of drag racing. But faces do not always stay in their places. They eventually do move on one way or the other in life. And I have appreciated John's stance that there are other faces to recognize and shine some glory on.
Yeah, I appreciate that too. His level of humility is amazing. But I'm just gonna say it for you, John. You are Mount Rushmore. You are the GOAT, whether you want to be it or not. Women lie, men lie, numbers don't. And I do love how the GOAT is passing the torch, so to speak, these years. And he's a huge fan and a cheerleader for a lot of his compadres out there. And, a lot of the young ladies out there, especially in Funny Car. But, man, it is cool because you don't see a lot. I mean, Jordan wasn't doing that for Kobe. Sorry. He wasn't. So it is cool to see. But, you don't have to say it, John. It's cool. But you are Mount Rushmore, my guy.
No, I can agree with that. Well, folks, we're waiting on Brandon Foster to come in, our guest tonight, and having some technical difficulties. We'll see when he does roll in. We've got some more clips from the New England Nationals. We'll take a look at, one of the other greats going up against the greatest in Top Fuel, Tony Schumacher, Doug Coletta, a final round that I think we all want to see more often, and we get it here at the New England Nationals. Take a look at it.
Two of the greatest Top Fuel racers in history, and it's Doug Coletta at the finish line stripe. 380 at 332 miles an hour, as Tony Schumacher was there with him for a long way until the tires gave way and the smoke rolled off the back. Well, Paul Laurenti for New England Dragway is going to hand over the last Wally of the day to the reigning Top Fuel world champion, Doug Coletta. Doug, you swept the weekend. You were number one qualifier in almost every session. You're going home with a Wally, to strong 380 in the final. How good does that feel?
Yeah, no, it's incredible. We had a tribute to my cousin Scott yesterday, and this one's definitely a tribute to him and Connie. And it was just, Alan and Mac and my whole Mac Tools Toyota RevCam team. We've been digging hard, and I'm just trying to make sure I don't screw up there. They've given me such a good car, and just awesome weekend, and just super excited.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
It's fitting. It feels good to see Doug Coletta and Coletta Motorsports do well at, I'll just say emotional times for that team.
Yeah.
To have, the get together to thank on Scott, to go out there and then win, that's a high for that entire team, and especially for those with the last name Coletta.
Yeah, it's really nice. Doug has paid his share of dues of being on the other side and being the bridesmaid. That win looks like it's opened up the floodgates a bit. And, Alan Johnson is being Alan Johnson again. He's doing his thing. He looks comfortable. They look comfortable. It almost seems like at times that they can't miss. So I'm really looking forward to what the rest of the season brings. But yeah, they're in a groove right now, and it it's really kind of quiet if you think about it. When you look at everybody else around them, the Justin Ashleys and some of the others, it's really kind of a quiet, good season. I mean, they got 2 wins on the year, but it just, the way things have transpired throughout the year, it just doesn't feel that way. But I like this. I like this. This could be another time where we're talking about by Indy that they're one of the contenders to win a championship again. And, with the way that things are going for them and the way he's driving as usual, and the way, AJ is tuning, who's to say he doesn't repeat? I mean, and then to get a little get back at Schumacher, that always has to feel good because nothing will ever take away the sting of the run. So anytime he can get a little jab here and there, I'm sure the Coletta Motorsports smiles a little bit.
I'm sure they do. Speaking of Tony Schumacher, I see that 055 light though, and
Yes.
I see him making a final round appearance. Do you think Mike Neff is getting a handle on this hot rod? And certainly Tony's driving well enough in this game. It was a 055 to an 072 there in the final. Certainly, if the cylinders didn't drop and tires break loose, that might have been a Tony Schumacher win.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Tony's always been there. They're getting a handle on this race car, and you see Mike Neff starting to come into to his own. I feel like they're one of those cars that are on the cusp. They showed it this weekend by getting to the final round, but I don't think you can ever worry about Tony Schumacher in that car. He's always going to be prepared. He ain't the Sarge for nothing, and he didn't win all those championships by sitting back, hoping the car does it for him. I think a combination of his driving and them starting to get this car to roll around, I think they're going to be dangerous. And, they're going to get some people here in the next couple of races. It'll be nice to see if they can really start to, find that home run tune-up. And some of the other teams, you see Jimmo finding it and finding a level of consistency there. So, along with Doug, along with Justin Ashley and his group, you see Antron doing the same. It's a lot of cars out there, but as long as you got the Sarge in your corner, you always have an opportunity. You always have a chance to win. You just got to give him something to work with.
We are certainly having blows from this corner and then a blow from this corner and a blow from that corner. We have got extremely competitive drag racing in the Nitro ranks, and it is certainly good to see what we are getting. And that continues on into the world of the naturally aspirated burning gasoline door slammer variety. NHRA Pro Stock was in Epping at the New England Nationals. We'll take a look now at the winner, the final from the New England Nationals.
Erica comes in with a significant performance advantage. We'll see if Troy has anything on the starting line for her. Coughlin second to stage. Snaps off the line with a 13 light. She was 0.38. He's got himself 2.5 hundredths of a second. Is any of it enough? It is. He did it on a whole shot. 6:58.4 beats a 6:56.3. Troy Coughlin Jr. picks up career win number 5 in Epping, New Hampshire. His first victory since the 2023 Mile High Nationals. Well, Paul Laurenti and I are surrounded by the yellow and black here of Jegs and Troy Coughlin Jr. Seen Paul hand him that Wally. Troy Coughlin, this is the first time you've picked one of these up since last year in Denver. You told me you needed to tighten up your package. You did. These guys here did the same for you, and you won on a whole shot by 4th out. How good does that feel?
Man, it feels awesome. And something I've been taught from day one is people make this possible, and it starts from the very top, and it goes all the way down the list. You got Kelly Murphy, Tim Freeman, Scott Woodruff, Ricky here, Kyle Bates, Hollywood. everybody here on Team Yellow and the Jegs.com White Castle Elite Machine, they're fantastic. They make great decisions, and they give me a race car to drive. I absolutely enjoy this sport so much, and this is why. So people make it possible, and we want to keep racing.
I don't have to tell you to celebrate. Have fun tonight.
Let's get it on.
Troy's doing this thing, man.
Yes. There's a lot of ways to take this win or this loss in NHRA Pro Stock. It's fascinating to me how people love to spin it. I do wonder if it had been the win light the other way, what the conversation might be.
Yeah.
I don't hear that chatter when it's the yellow fellas getting it Elite Motorsports, not
right
Motorsports, instead of Team Red. I do wonder, though, if the win light came on in the other lane, what the conversation might be.
Oh, I'm sure there would have been a conversation. So I saw Courtney post something, and it was like, caption this. It was two different things. And my first thought was, and the first picture was, did you see them making fun of us in a video? And then the second picture, how about that 6.48 seconds, though? I'm sure the conversation would have been a heck of a lot different. And I'm here for it. Like, I don't want to hear the mumbling under the breath and, we're talking and whispering in people's ears. Bring it to the forefront. Let the fans hear it, and then let the fans decide who they want to root for and gripe at and yell at and boo. Like, it's only going to make Pro Stock better. Just like it's done for Pro Stock Motorcycle. Look at the attention it's getting. Come on, man. But I guarantee you, if it was that red car, something will have been said. She doesn't mince words. Let's just put it that way.
038 is not a bad light, but not enough with an 013. And as I recall, 56 to a 58 there in the final round. Good drag race in the world of Pro Stock. And, no matter what the team it is right now, again, we kind of get that blow back and forth. Greg Anderson has shown strength. Dallas Glenn has shown strength. Obviously, Erica Enders, and you've got the Coughlins. It is certainly competitive in the world of Pro Stock. It might not be everything that we all might want it to be, but you cannot take away that it is extremely competitive from car to car and driver to driver. We do exist in a NHRA Pro Stock that John DeFlorian in the test car, if you will, is able to take out Erica Enders.
Yeah. The competition is stout from top to bottom. And, I had on my show, on the Not Bland show, on the cusp, I was talking about three people that I thought that were on the cusp. And Jerry Tucker, another one that line up, take you out quick. And it's not a fluke. Like, they run consistent. You can even see at times, what is it? Is it Eric Latino? Even he can step up and make a run. There's no slouches in that field at all. There's no one to take lightly. So, yeah, sure. It's a bunch of Camaros and, it's two teams. But you know what? It's healthy. It's very healthy. And it's good drag racing, not runaways. So I think you're going to see that in a lot of the pro classes. We're going to have a lot of body shots. It's going to come down in the playoffs of who's going to be able to deliver the kill shot, who's going to be able to deliver the shot on the chin that knocks someone out. That's going to be the key. But you know what? I don't know if that exists. It's going to take a lot of folks to trip and fall on their face, to make it one of those things where someone's delivered a kill shot where, the rest of the field is only shooting for second place. I think the only class we're looking at that in is Pro Stock Motorcycle right now. But, it's going to be tough. And I think we're going to see a lot of body shots thrown throughout the year. And I think it's going to be that way in the playoffs also.
For sure. I think that is going to be the case. And we're going to see big upsets, surprise upsets, and we're going to have those moments. I think we're going to have those moments of like a John DeFlorian taking out an Erica Enders, or someone coming back, to shoe an elite ride and taking out Greg Anderson, for example, in the countdown. We're going to see those type of things play out. We may very well see those type of things play out even with the orders. Who knows? It's a part of drag racing, always has been, always will be. And we might not like it, but it's been there. It's been there since the early days of pro stock. How I know? Because, well, Dad was there with Ford Racing, and there was stories of those type of things happening. So It took place, ladies and gentlemen, and we're going to have them continue to take place, and the story be told, and the story be weaved in NHRA drag racing all the way to the champion. I think what we theoretically can see right now in pro stock, though, some regard, is, as having Greg Anderson on the show just a couple of weeks ago, and he talked about whoever qualifies has got a shot. And I agree with him. I think that is true. Whoever qualifies has got a shot. And it really comes down to who is being the best driver, not of the day. It is really the best driver most of the time, round by round, and then break it down to all of the stages in a pro stock race that have to be executed rightly for the win light to come on.
Right. I also think it also comes down to, which crew chief is going to keep it medium, understand what they're working with, and not get too greedy or push it too close to the edge. But you're seeing a lot of this happen too because of the competition around. It's like, okay, well, I know what I can do, and I know what the car is capable of. But I can't back it too far off because if my opponent hits, I don't have enough at the top end to get around him or to finish the run and come away with the win. So, we've seen a lot of cars go into tire shake quick in some of these runs. And that's just the nature of the beast. The competition is there. You really have to, it's a driver's race, but it's also a crew chief's race because they have to give their driver a car that's going to go from start to finish and not lag. And, on these tricky racetracks, sometimes you think you got everything you need there. If it goes well, it's going to look good. And sometimes these cars have gone, they've washed out a little bit. We've had the washout go in a tire shake, and it's made the difference. So, but I think, like you said, it's a credit to the competition. So, drivers can't be sleeping, and crew chiefs can't be caught napping and slacking. They definitely have to be on their game, and sometimes you have to push it a little bit, that fine line, and make sure that you're not going to get all out and flat out run down and beat.
Well, we are still waiting on Brandon Foster. Certainly want to chat with him concerning pro stock. He is in that class, and we would love to have his perspective. We just a couple weeks ago were able to have the perspective of Greg Anderson, and then get the perspective of someone like a Brandon Foster and see what he thinks about the class. That will definitely be an interesting juxtaposition of two quality drivers and people at completely different ends of the spectrum on their careers and what they're doing behind the wheel. We do have one more win to look at, and that is from Pro Modified.
The final two, who goes home with Wally? What a great way to close it out. If your name is Mason, he runs 574, 249. Jordan runs 573 at 254. Mason moved first with an 047 reaction time, and the elite folks are going to get a double.
So Mason Wright is now an NHRA Pro Mod victor, and for that he's going to get his Wally here from the folks in New England Dragway. Mason, this was your first final round, and you won on a hole shot. As a driver, doesn't get much better than that, does it?
Oh my gosh, this is my first win ever. NHRA, anything, top sportsman, super gas, anything, and I did it in Pro Mod. God, I love this. His sport's awesome.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, congratulations to Mason there on the win. Good to see Pro Mod up there in New England. You know, the New England fans certainly had to enjoy seeing Pro Mod there of the NHRA quarter mile variety. And interesting to see, I feel like some different names, different faces in Pro Mod standing out. I mean, it doesn't seem like the usual crop is who we're hearing from at the moment.
Right. It looks like some of those guys are still trying to find their way. I have been paying attention to Pro Mod this year. It's been fun. It's been fun to see the different names pop up. Mason Wright is the 75th different winner in this class since 2001. And for it to be his first win is amazing. Doubling up for elite. That stat provided by dragracereference.com. Dave W., your stat guy, my stat guy, our stat guy. But this class has been exceptional. I thought Lyle would be a little bit better than they have shown, but I can say that for several of the bigger names that you find at the top of the list in the points and in the win column. So it's made it for a very interesting class. If you're not watching Pro Mod this year, you're missing out. I mean, great racing. It's been very close this weekend, super close between cars. And at the Thunder Valley Nationals, they're going to have 24 of those bad boys. Stressful trying to qualify for that 16-car field.
For sure. And a hard track to do it at, too, as well. And, it seems like every time I go to Bristol, there is carnage there in the Pro Mod ranks also. Mm-hmm. So keep your eyes out on the highlight reel for sure going there to Bristol. And, not saying that every entry list is going to look like Bristol, but NHRA Pro Mod is healthy right now. It does appear. And NHRA has done whatever is necessary to do, and the Pro Mod racers themselves have done what is necessary to do. I do like that occasionally they get some TV time now, and that's even very strategic with Pro Mod and what classes are slated and what is there and what is not there, and they go and they participate. Like, for example, NHRA Pro Stock Motorcycle was not there. That would have been on TV. It's a professional category. But with NHRA Pro Stock Motorcycle not being there, NHRA Pro Mod is able to work it out and, get some time on Fox. Well, that's beneficial to them and their program. So I don't want to say NHRA Pro Mod is back as it was, but it does appear to be healthy. And also, I do wonder, where is the line on, like a 100% bill of health? And what I mean by that, 24 cars you're mentioning, looking at entered going into Bristol. Man, that is great. But you'll have someone out there in the comments section, not necessarily on this show, but out there in social media. Well, I remember when 36 was showing up trying to qualify. Until we get to 36, it's not healthy.
Right.
And I find that ridiculous.
I agree. It's the level. To me, it's consistent, and as long as you can have a bump spot, a true bump spot, where a group of cars are going home, and it's on a consistent basis, I call it healthy. You know what I mean? You probably won't always be 24, but I think they have consistently had well over 16 cars show up for a race. So if they can consistently do that, then that's considered healthy for me. I think the competition is great too. I don't think there's any pushovers in that class. There's no cars that can't win. Yeah, I agree with you though. You have that, and it's always something else, right? You know, the negative Nancy's always finds a dark cloud, rainy cloud in a sunshine sky. So
it does seem to be that way. Andrew, to answer your question about Stevie Fast and returning to driving NHRA, I have no clue. I don't know.
Me neither.
I have no clue what is on the radar for him. Might be some things within his social media feeds to pick up on, but not sure at all. And Dave W. says they have not had a short field since Dallas 2022. Not bad.
Boom. There you go. It's healthier than it's healthy, very, very healthy. It's thriving. So
right.
Yeah,
and if I remember that 2022 Dallas, there was championship implications on the line, and Ricky actually didn't show up.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. Yeah,
so,
I think you're right about that.
Yeah. Another great stat from Dave W. Let me bring this one up. I think this is a great point, really diving in. How competitive is it in Pro Mod? This year's winner qualifying positions, 11,925.
Yeah. It's literally anybody's race. Like, yeah. If you're, like I said, if you're not paying attention to Pro Mod, you're missing out. It is.
Right.
It's been really, really good this year. A lot of competitive cars. And again, Pro Mod is almost like Pro Stock. It's anybody's race. Anybody 1 to 16 can win.
For sure. I agree. I do want to take the time to talk about New England Dragway, New England Nationals itself. We got some comments, though, that were rolling in, built in. Folks, we haven't seen Brandon Foster pop into the green room quite yet. We got worried he had to take some business calls. He is a businessman. He had to get on the horn and handle some situations. Hopefully we'll have him before we close things out on the show. But thank you for being with us anyway. Hit the like button, hit the share button, continue to comment. We'll take those comments and we'll chat drag racing. And one of the comments that I noticed from Dave W., I think he brings up a great point. All right, here is a question I want an opinion on from experts such as yourselves. That term expert is being used very loosely there, Dave. Why do we use the excuse they are just in test mode when a team struggles? Why can't we just call it a struggle? And well, I then think Drag Racing Mayhem, he chimes in the interchat with the show and mentions that Drag Race mentions that because they're too sensitive, which is strange in a professional sport. They don't say the Panthers are doing well. They just say they suck. Mention, by him saying that, like, why do the Panthers need renovations when they're not doing that well? Like, get the team on track first, and then let's do renovations. But nonetheless, there have been moments where drivers, you have Brian Loans talk about it, you have Tony Petragon talk about it, others have mentioned it, that things are said about their performance or where the team is or what they're doing or not doing in the sport, and there is this pushback. Hey, why'd you say this about me? That offended me. I think I think that plays a big part into what Dave is asking in Drag Racing Mayhem with the response. I think it's actually kind of accurate.
Yeah, I'm not mincing words, and I don't care about feelings. Not here to make friends. It's business, okay? And call it like you see it. Now, I also base it on the information that you can have, right? So sometimes you're able to get some inside information. I'll use Dave Richards as an example. From the outside, I don't like to use they suck because I always think you need to explain yourself. So you could look at Dave Richards and says, they're just not doing well and they're not good. And then when you investigate, you find out what's going on and why they're having those struggles. And then you're like, oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense. And now I see what's going on here. And you see what they're dealing with right now. And if you haven't seen that, go back to the archives over there, Not Bland Show YouTube page, and you can watch it. So then there's times where, and I'm going to use Jim Dunn and Buddy Hull when I talked about that on the end of my show. That car is consistently not looking for a 395, we're not looking for a 398. The car has consistently run the 4.0 something on a regular basis. They did it with a guy who was too big for the car. It didn't fit him at all, and they were able to run 4.0s, 4.10s easily. That's beyond – struggle bus is an understatement right now, especially in eliminations.
Yes.
And there's no excuse for it on tracks this season that have been roasting people. Roasting. No one does it better than Jim Dunn running 4.0s repeatedly. Yet we haven't given this man a race car to go down the racetrack at all.
Right.
And on top of that, I hear people talk, and I said on my show, I hear people talking about how Buddy Hull is a rookie. Dude drove fuel altered, people. That's the same thing, if not even more tough to drive.
Yeah.
So sure, he hasn't driven a funny car.
Well,
but he's not accustomed to driving something that can, do anything it wants to do at 330 feet and go, and pucker your butthole. You know what I mean? Like, come on, guys. But they got to do better. Have not run consistently 4.0s at all this season. And to me, that's unacceptable, period, because they've been doing it. They make a living doing that. So come on. Let's get it going.
It's no doubt that they are struggling. And from what I understand, they're struggling with trying to make the program better. And
interesting.
And what has happened is there's new parts, new pieces, and what did work is not working the way in which they think.
So they're in the Dave Richards situation where really they have no combination for the combination of parts that they now have.
Right. Because they've got professional help over there. I mean, if you just just watch the Jim Dunn pit, and you're going to see that they've got a big name or two helping out, trying to turn some knobs and get them in the right direction. But that right direction is going quicker and faster. That's been expressed. They want to do that, but it is a situation that when changing the combination, now they're struggling. They're struggling with the new combination, and theoretically they should be going quicker and faster. But when you change things, it has ramifications like, oh, I got a brand new blower. And I'm not saying they have a brand new blower, but I'm saying, I bought a brand new blower. I'm going to go out there and qualify better. No, you're not. It changes everything. Because you put that new blower on, well, you need to obviously mess with fuel. You need to mess with timing. You need to, it's going to affect how the clutch now works and what weight are you going to put on. It affects everything.
Yeah.
So they are figuring that out. But I would say, they're struggling. No doubt. Now, I think to Dave's point or question, I think we at times like to give credit to those who have performed well.
That's true.
Beyond the line of credit that they should get. And what I mean by that is we now see Alan Johnson doing very well with Coletta Motorsports, but they were struggling.
Oh, yeah, I said that a lot.
Yeah, right. But they were struggling.
Yes.
Okay? And it finally got there. It's worked out. Boom. But there were struggles. And David Grubnick right now, whatever's going on, whatever they're trying to figure out in that combination with Grubnick and Collins, Brittany Force did not qualify.
Yeah.
I know it is competitive out there in NHRA drag racing, especially in Top Fuel. But you are at John Force Racing.
Yeah. And it's the way they missed too. That's the whole other thing. It's how you did not qualify. You looked awful the whole weekend. Couldn't throw a dart on couldn't throw a dart standing on a dartboard standing right in front of it. I mean, it was bad.
Right. So I definitely think there are struggles there. And, I don't know, maybe teams need to be more honest also. Sometimes the media is only passing along what is given.
Right.
And when you get into conjecture and opinion, that's sometimes not necessarily a place you want to be, especially when it's in writ form. So, maybe there needs to be a little bit more honesty from that. And we hear that. And, we hear it from other motorsports. I think of NASCAR. We'll hear it. We are struggling. We're trying to, this new car or whatever, or this rule package. We do hear that.
Right. Because, I mean, what's the secret nowadays? There's no real innovative thing that somebody's doing that somebody else isn't doing. Everybody's got the same combination. They're given the same, package, same rules, and you can decide how per how your car responds to this package is how you run it. So you're not telling anybody anything different if you say, hey, we're trying to do this, that, fifth, and the third, and it's not working, and we're struggling with that. We think we're close, but, we're having a hard time, finding said thing in middle of the track or at the beginning of the hit of the run. You know what I mean? It's like, you're not saying anything that's secretive.
Right. And I will say this about innovation. There's very little big innovation.
Yeah.
We're not going to see a Pro Charger on a nitro-burning methane engine in top fuel anytime soon, if ever. And one reason for that is safety. Because when you do bring in innovation, testing, attempting to figure it out, well, with nitro, you tend to blow stuff up. And we've got to a happy place in the world of NHRA drag racing where it's, quite uncommon that we have the Doug Herbert annihilations on the line type of incident. Or you had those in the past that were just known for tearing stuff up. I think
Bruce Litton.
Or I think of even though he would go out there and perform well and win from time to time, I think you could kind of count on Terry McMillan every now and then to really ignite one and let one loose. We don't quite see that as much as we used to. So in the sport, it's in a happy place there. But that does not mean that innovation does not happen. Innovation right now is happening where you and I can't see it.
Yep. And that's good. I think that is good. And like you said, I don't mind that. I mean, no one likes the days of long oil down sessions. I watch some of these older Diamond P shows from the 90s, and it's like, dude, no diapers, no protective stuff around the engine. And when they grenaded stuff, it was like, yep, this is going to take a while.
Let's go get a corn dog.
Oh, shoot. I tell you what, I know one weekend in Englishtown as a kid, went out there. We didn't even get like 2 pairs in. Man, dude, all down the racetrack. We sat there. Then we kind of walked the pits. We went back to the RV, took a nap, and they still hadn't started it. It was like dusk before we ever even got anything going again. Like how far we've come, But yeah, I do like innovation, but I don't like I don't like the test ovation.
Yeah, because that's cost evation
Exactly.
and time evation and so on and so on and so on. It is certainly in a happy place right now in the sport.
Absolutely.
But I can tell you that like I go into McKinney Corp and I see some things now that I have pretty much the opportunity to take a photo of just about anything and post it up there. But there are some things go in. The teams ask for something very specific, and it is different. It's within the rules, but you can't see it, and it's a no photo thing. So it is out there. It is out there, and they are thinking in different areas than ever before. So these crew chiefs are smart. They're figuring out ways to get an edge here, an edge there within the rules, even if the color does change.
Yeah. But they already figured out a way to get around that too. So, it'll be within the rules and it won't even matter. But I do like those things. Innovation is always good. It really gives people motivation to be able to find an edge. You got to be able to find an edge somehow within your rule book and within your rule package. So it's nice to have that because it keeps people, the mad scientists, continue to work in the lab.
Well, folks, look, thank you for hanging with us. We haven't had Brandon Foster pop in. We'll continue to chat drag racing with each and every one of you. We'll continue to take your questions. Kroger Sucks 45, I believe, chimed in and asked any word on why Josh Hart added another crew chief to his team. Well, I think that's a team that's struggling. And even though they have shown some ability to perform, it's very inconsistent. I think that's what they've got to find. They got to find consistency. And Josh is one that will be open with you. We're struggling. We got to work on it. We got to get better. We got to move forward. They are not where they were when he rolled that team out and showed up at the Gator Nationals and ran that partial schedule in his first year. So it is something they're trying to figure out. I think that's why you have Josh Hart believing that he needed to make a move and bring on another individual to help that car turn on some win lights and that team get more wins. I certainly think that's the case. And man, what a wild deal in Epping with the bees and his awning and just wow.
Yeah, that was wild. I have a similar story. I used to live in a duplex when I lived in Florida. It was like my first or second place there, and we lived on the end. And there was like this all from nowhere. This swarm of honeybees were like all over the side of the house, just packed. And they brought the little thing out there, and when the queen goes in, everybody follows. By the afternoon, they were all in there, and the person came up the next day and took it away. So yeah, it's wild, especially to have that in your work environment like that. All it takes is like to aggravate those things. You know what I mean? With that big of a swarm, that's just too much.
I like this, Lonnie. Josh hired out a beehive to put the sting on his competitors. I like that. That's good.
That was
good. Hey, shout out to all the folks at New England Dragway, Epping, New Hampshire, New England Nationals. I've been up there a couple of times. I thoroughly enjoy going to New England Dragway. I haven't been in a couple of years, just the way schedule worked out and what I'm covering, what I'm doing in the sport. But those fans love their drag racing, and I am so glad that they were able to have a great national event with many different storylines, good weather all weekend. Remember, they did not get to have their national event last year. At least it come to completion. It had to be run to completion in Bristol. Right. So I'm very happy for them. And it's good for the NHRA, sellout crowds. And, look, I get it. That crowd at Epping is not going to fill up a Joliet. But the crowd at Joliet was good. And I've seen good crowds at Pomona, though they're not sold out. I get the idea of like we want to sell out every time. You're probably not going to have that every time, but you can have good crowds, and good crowds also. You got to think that it is, you got to put it in. You got to compare. You got to contrast. I went to a Memorial Day weekend game in St. Louis. Watched the Cardinals against the Cubs. The Cubs, that's a fan base that travels. That's a fan base they can go anywhere and have fans. And Chicago isn't that far from St. Louis. And it being Memorial Day weekend, the place they said over 40,000 were in attendance. Well, we can at times in NHRA drag racing over 3 days have over 40,000.
Right.
Okay, we can have 30,000 on one day. You can get upward to 75,000 sometimes on a weekend.
Yeah.
And also, maybe that package needs to change. Maybe a 2-day weekend, as we're going to see in Virginia coming up, is a better scenario. We see more people because there's less days. I don't know. I think we got to try things. I think we got to see things. But we also are in a day and time, I think, for every sport, we see less turnout because of the options that people have for entertainment and to view these sporting events.
Yeah. I agree with you. Some of it has to do with time spent at said particular event. You have to be real. It's a long day at the racetrack.
Long day.
And I think revisiting some things, and we're going to see the 2-day event here in Virginia. Maybe how we structure an actual event may help. But it's so many varieties of entertainment, and then some of those varieties of entertainment does not require me to sit out in the sun, especially in the summertime with it beating down on me, and I'm there for 10-hour day, possibly or more. So it does make a difference. And they need to try a few things and see what they can do to draw people in. But yes, huge shout out to New England Dragway and their fans. Really came out and packed the place, and that's pretty cool. It's a intimate feel there. Shows that out that far off, as drivers would say, off to that far out in Maine there, to have the Canadians come out, to have different people from surrounding areas come out was pretty amazing. And it was thoroughly enjoyable. And shout out to Brian Loans, Hall of Famer now. Hall of Famer now.
Rightfully
Good,
so. Rightfully
good
so.
stuff.
And look, man, I think Epping should have the throwback race.
Mm-hmm.
It is that facility. It's like it's kind of like the Darlington in the drag racing world.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to take the idea of it feels retrospective and nostalgic.
Right.
I wish it had the throwback NHRA race. That would be cool. I'd like to see that.
Yeah, I would too. It would be fitting for the area. So yeah, maybe that's something the NHRA can think about and pull off.
Well, Dugenais, anything else before we wrap the show up? Sorry, folks, we didn't have Brandon Foster pop in. We'll have to get him another time. Certainly want to chat with him and learn more about Mr. Foster and why the desire to be an NHRA Pro Stock in this day in time. Anything else, Dugenais?
Did we talk about South Georgia Motorsports Park being in Epping?
No, we didn't. That's interesting. I do like it, though, when tracks show up to other tracks and are attempting to learn things and get the lay of the land, if you will. So SGMP at NED. What was going on?
They were there kind of supporting. They were taking photos and videos, and they were posting them on their social media page, asking fans if they wanted this, and basically telling them to let the NHRA know how they felt. And I've seen them talking about this here for a little bit. And it seems like they're trying to drum up interest. I really think Epping is proof that it can be done. I don't think this organization of people who own the track, are afraid of getting stands and doing things necessary to get a national event there. I think we talked about it off air, but I think in the beginning you might not have nitro. Maybe, like you said, have a door slammers type race, pro mod, pro stock. They usually have XDA and other bike classes run here, so they could throw them in there if they wanted to. But just to get their feet wet and get a lay of the land on how they want things to be handled at a national event would be great. Because they're dealing with some, outside circumstances with people who own the surrounding land around them, and curfews that would need to be worked out. So, I thought it was great to see them there and campaigning for the NHRA to come here to South Georgia. And I think it's the beginning of something that can happen. Epping is proven that at a small venue, it can be done.
It can be done. You can see a national event can be pulled off at smaller venues. Case in point, Epping, and then also Pacific Raceways.
Yeah.
And I think they both do a good job. Mm-hmm. I have been to both, and I've enjoyed both. They have a different. And again, I want to say this again: New England. They are not a Taj Mahal. They're not a ZMAX, but they know that. And I've always appreciated they bring in bathrooms, they bring in extra vendors, they do the job, they put the work in to make the national event work. Mm-hmm. And I like that about New England Dragway, and Pacific Raceway is doing the same thing, and they have done the same thing. So it is possible for us to see NHRA drag racing go to other venues. And I also, look, why do we have to go for 20 years? Why can't we go 2-3 years and then have 2-3 years off? I mean, I understand tracks want the contract and they want that stability and they want to bank on it, but nonetheless, why not have things rotating? I would love to see that in motorsports, not just NHRA drag racing. And, you have some other national events pop up in some other places. Like right now, we've got the Southern Nationals. That nameplate is out because of the death of Atlanta Dragway there in Commerce, Georgia. What if the Southern Nationals is a nameplate that moves around to some Southern drag strips? Move it around to South Georgia Motorsports Park. Move it around to another drag strip that could possibly handle it in the Southeast, wherever that might be, and see how that works out. Maybe 1 year it is a situation where you do a double header at ZMAX for that weekend, but you also give Rockingham an early or late date or something of that nature. I think there's a lot more creativity that can happen within the schedule than we honestly are getting right now. Now, there's money involved, there's TV involved, there's personalities involved, there's ego involved, there's just bullheadedness involved. Nonetheless, I think there's a lot of room for creativity and flexibility and, availing to opportunity.
Yeah, I agree. I think I'm not as stringent as most on a schedule having to meet and doing the same schedule over and over again. I do think there needs to be some flexibility And I think those things would create a variety and some newness, some freshness to, the sport when you are not doing things over and over and over again to the same places all the time. And like you said, contracts and stuff like that, I get it. But I think there's room to expand and room to think outside of the box a little bit.
I agree. Think outside the box. And look, we are seeing that. In saying that, I'm glad we are seeing it. The Too Fast, Too Tasty challenge. That was thinking outside the box. To have that routinely, a race within the race scenario in qualifying. So we are seeing some of those things.
Right.
Just would like to see it even bigger and in other ways. Again, I have said it many times. Let's try a door slammer only type of NHRA event at a track. What if it's a nitro only type of event and change the national event model? I think it's overdue for sure within the sport. And for it to ultimately move forward, I think that's got to happen. And last question. So we've had Andrew ask, hey, you guys going to be betting this weekend? So I'm curious, Dugenais, did you have to go through the training program with NHRA? Okay.
They didn't send me anything.
Okay, so that's interesting. You're a member of the media, but you're not a hard card member of the media. I have an NHRA hard card, so I had to go through it. I cannot actually bet on the races.
I wouldn't though. I don't bet on football, and I wouldn't bet either.
I'm not a big betting man. I mean, I played bingo. I actually won last night. That was kind of nice. But I don't buy into that. That just happens to be at the restaurant I'm going to eat anyway. So I got my supper paid for. I've never won at bingo. That was great.
Yeah. I don't know. I wouldn't. As a media member, I would not bet. It's just something that I don't think. It's a thin line there, you know what I mean? Like I don't know if that's kosher if you're a member of the media and betting. It just muddies the waters, and I wouldn't want to mix the two.
I agree. Dugenais, look, man, it's been good to be on the show with you once again. Everyone chiming in, thank you. Sorry we were not able to get Brandon Foster on. We'll have him on another time. Thank you for watching the Competition Plus Power Hour. All this talk, though, of John, brute force, handing it off, retiring, getting out of the seat. The man's not done yet. He is unbreakable. There was this great piece done by Bobby Bennett from competitionplus.com. John getting back on top, getting back to being competitive. He is not done yet, for sure. Thank you, everyone, for watching.
Let me tell you something you already know. The world ain't all sunshine and rainbows. It's a very mean and nasty place, and I don't care how tough you are, it will beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it. You, me, or nobody is gonna hit as hard as life. But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done. Now, if you know what you're worth, now go out and get what you're worth. But you gotta be willing to take the hits and not pointing fingers saying you ain't where you wanna be because of him or her or anybody. Cowards do that, and that ain't you. You're better than that.
I know this ain't what you're asking, but you got me wound up now. I drank some of that monster. I'm all wound up, and I'm going to say some things and get it off my chest and move on. It may not be what you want. The Babe Ruth story, did you ever see it? The guy's standing there, and he says, "Babe, what about me?" And Babe dropped the bat and said, "It's your turn, kid. That time will come someday." And that scares me to death. Can you understand that? That scares me to death because I love it out here. I'm 66 years old, okay? But as long as I can pass the physical, and as long as I can be out here, I'm going to do this. There will not be a final tour for me. If it's going to be a final tour, it's because I leave the racetrack and I never come back again. The tours are to say goodbye. I'm not saying goodbye. I got nowhere to go. You get it? Nowhere to go. You know what I'm saying? I'm so used to hotels, that's my home. I'm so used to the racetrack. When I get here, I feel like I came home. My grandchildren are here. This is 50 years of Funny Car. I helped build Funny Car, just like Perdome, Beetle, Bernstein, McEwen, so many others. I was part of that. When some young kid, some young gun, you've seen it in the movies, they go up to the old cowboy and like, you know what? Let's fight. If I can whip you, then I become the man. And that's what this game's all about. It's that way in politics. It's that way in everything that you do in life. What makes a champion is somebody that lives it 7 days a week, 24 hours. You sleep and dream it. And I heard all the stories from all these young kids coming up, what they go through and all that stuff. And I appreciate that, but I know how I did it. And I've got the most wins. You know what I mean? Now, did I surround myself with great people? Was I a whole bunch lucky? Probably. Okay, but in the last over 4 decades, you know what I mean? We're talking 40 years I've been out here, but in the last 25 years, a champion, I didn't win just one. I won 16. We won 18 as a team. And why? Because we lived it. Okay? In 1990, I won. 91, I won. In 92, I lost to Cruz Petragon. Beat the shit out of me. And I knew right there. Okay, and everybody was telling me, well, you've had your run, you've had 2. Joe Amato won 4, 5, 6. Why me? Because that's the way it is. It's over. Well, I don't accept that. You know what I'm saying? I don't accept it's over. Nobody tells me my destiny. And a champion is a guy that wants it every day. But I don't do it just to be a champion. I do it because I love it. They told me it was over. Cruz beat me. I came back in 93. And what did I do? I won 10 straight. Let them see if they can ever match that. They crashed me and broke my arms and legs, and I still came back, won 2 more championships. Then they took my money away. Okay? I still had good funding, but I was 50 cents on the dollar of where I was. So we threw last year in the trash and said, we're going to do the best we can, but we're going to learn everything we can. We're going to train new kids. That's what we're going to do. And now it's 2016. And now I got my money back. And that makes me vicious. That makes me mean. Back where I need to be. And then somebody wants to come over and feel sorry for me. That's the worst thing you can do for John Forrest, is feel sorry for me, because I'm coming. And let me tell you something else. All them people down that road, they're all catching up to me in age. And a guy said to me when I made that statement to one of my people, he said, yeah, but you're getting older just like them. Nah, I should have been done already. I should have been finished 10, 15 years ago. With what I know, my knowledge, and where I'm going, and taking true grit with me. I'm just like the Duke. I'm going to fight this thing because I fought it coming up, and I survived, and I'm going to fight it going down. I'm going to fight this thing to the end. And win or lose, I'm going to be a pain in their asses. I'm going to fight them every day, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to drive them, the ones that beat me, and I'm either going to beat them or I'm going to make them a whole lot better. I got well again. Let me tell you something. I joke, when I'm in this fire suit, I'm 20 years old. I'm Superman. I'm a kid. That's all great talk. Inside, okay, at my best day, I was never Superman. But I love what I did. And you know why? Because that race car does the running for me. When someone wants to talk to me, and I love every one of these drivers, I don't even know some Top Fuel Funny Car, I love them all. They want me to go out and badmouth them, beat them up, do that. I'm not going to. And so when them young kids come over to me and say things to me, they don't mean, they're not hurting my feelings. They're not making me mad. So when a kid says to me, God, haven't you proved it enough? And you look tired. I look tired for the last 20 years. I am tired. But I thrive on this stuff. And when they say that to me, I told a kid the other day, why don't you just march over across the street and stay over there? Because you know what, kid? I'm coming with my and I'm going to kick your ass. That's what's coming.